Every time I rewatch the Harry Potter films, I find myself less impressed by the spells and more fascinated by the system behind them, the Ministry of Magic. It's like if you took the worst parts of a corporate office, added a few Dementors, and called it leadership. And the more I look at it, the more I realize the Ministry wasn't just incompetent. It was a full-blown reflection of how power fails when it's too busy protecting itself, which honestly makes it one of the most realistic parts of the entire franchise. Alright, let's talk about why the Ministry of Magic didn't just fail Harry or Dumbledore or even the Muggles, it failed everyone. It's easy to think of the Ministry of Magic as a symbol of order, the great institution that kept the wizarding world running. It had laws, departments, aurors, and even a newspaper that worked hand in hand to maintain peace. But when you look a little closer, you start to realize something unsettling. The Ministry wasn't just ineffective. It failed everyone, not just Harry, not just the Order, but the entire wizarding world. The Ministry of Magic was supposed to be the protector of the people, a guiding light in times of darkness. But more often than not, it acted as the very thing it claimed to fight against: ignorance, control, and fear. In many ways, Voldemort didn't destroy the wizarding world. The Ministry did that all on its own, through arrogance and denial. From the beginning, the Ministry built its power on illusion, the illusion of safety, of competence, of stability. They wanted everyone to believe that they had things under control, even when they clearly didn't. Remember when the Chamber of Secrets was opened? Instead of investigating with logic and open minds, they jumped to conclusions. They arrested Hagrid because it was easier to scapegoat an outcast than admit they had no idea what was going on. That moment wasn't just a mistake. It was a reflection of how the Ministry operated: silence the uncomfortable truths, punish the powerless, and pretend everything's fine. And that illusion kept repeating itself. During Voldemort's first rise to power, the Ministry downplayed the danger until it was too late. During his second rise, they outright denied it, despite the evidence staring them in the face. Cornelius Fudge is the perfect example of how fragile their leadership really was. He wasn't evil, he was terrified of losing control, terrified of admitting the truth, terrified of change. And so, instead of protecting people, he chose denial. But denial is dangerous. It allows darkness to grow in the shadows while everyone's told to look the other way. The Ministry's fear of panic became the reason panic spread. Their obsession with control led to chaos. By trying so hard to preserve their image, they ended up losing the trust of the very people they were meant to serve. And once that trust was gone, it opened the door for something far worse. When Voldemort's followers infiltrated the Ministry, they didn't have to tear it down, like it was already crumbling from the inside. The bureaucracy, the corruption, the blind loyalty to rules and hierarchy, all of it made the institution the perfect host for tyranny. It's almost tragic when you think about it. The Ministry of Magic wasn't destroyed by force, it was hollowed out by its own flaws. When Umbridge came into power, it wasn't because she was particularly powerful, it was because the system allowed her to thrive. She represented everything the Ministry had become: cold, cruel, obsessed with order for the sake of control, not justice. Her pink walls and kitten plates were just a mask for something deeply rotten underneath. And what's worse is that the people let it happen. Most witches and wizards believed what they were told. They trusted the Daily Prophet's headlines. They followed Ministry decrees without question, maybe out of fear, maybe out of habit, but it's a haunting reflection of how easily people give up freedom when authority tells them it's for their own good. The Ministry didn't fail because it was evil, it failed because it was human, or in this case, deeply wizardly, in the most flawed ways possible: pride, fear, complacency, the refusal to question the system because it's always been that way. These are the same weaknesses that led to every tragedy in the series. Think about how many lives were ruined by the Ministry's choices. Sirius Black was imprisoned without a trial, Hagrid was expelled without real evidence, Muggleborns were hunted during Voldemort's takeover, and yet, even before that, they were never truly treated as equals. The Ministry's discrimination wasn't new, it was just hidden behind layers of politeness and paperwork. In the end, it makes you wonder, Was the ministry ever truly on the side of good, or was it just pretending to be? When Harry stood before the Wizengamot during his hearing in Order of the Phoenix, accused of using magic to save his life, you could feel how deeply broken the system had become. Justice wasn't about truth, it was about maintaining authority. They weren't protecting the law, they were protecting their reputation. And for the first time, Harry saw the truth. The real danger wasn't just Voldemort, it was the system that allowed him to rise again. Even after Voldemort's fall, the question remains, did the wizarding world ever learn from its mistakes? The post-war ministry tried to rebuild, yes. Kingsley Shacklebolt became minister, reforms were promised, and peace was restored. But systems don't change overnight. Power doesn't disappear, it just shifts hands. The scars left behind by corruption and fear run deep. Maybe the real takeaway from all this isn't that the ministry was evil or incompetent, but that no institution can be trusted blindly. Because when the people in charge care more about control than compassion, the result is always the same: suffering. The wizarding world didn't need a ministry that controlled everything. It needed leaders who understood what they were protecting. People, not power. In a strange way, the ministry's failure makes the heroes of the story even more remarkable. People like Dumbledore's army, who learned to rely on each other instead of the system. People like Harry, who saw the flaws and still chose to fight for something better. People like Lupin and Tonks and the Order, who acted not because they were ordered to, but because it was right. It's easy to look at magic and think it's what makes the wizarding world extraordinary. But really, it's the choices like the courage to question authority, the strength to stand against corruption, the belief that doing good doesn't need permission from above. The Ministry of Magic was meant to be a symbol of order, but it became a warning instead. A reminder that institutions, no matter how powerful, are only as good as the people running them. When fear and pride take over, even the most magical government can turn into something dark. Maybe that's the real lesson J.K. Rowling was hinting at, that evil doesn't always come with a snake-faced villain or a dark mark in the sky. Sometimes it comes wrapped in rules, paperwork, and polite smiles. Sometimes it looks like order, and maybe, just maybe, the real magic isn't in wands or spells, but in people willing to do the right thing, even when the system doesn't. So that's the Ministry of Magic, a bureaucratic mess dressed in fancy robes and false authority. It's fascinating, really, how a world built on wonder could still be crippled by fear, pride, and good old-fashioned incompetence. If you enjoyed this deep dive, or if it at least made you want to rewatch the films with a new perspective, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss what's next. I've got more breakdowns and theories. Thanks for watching. Peace out.